We live in a world that glorifies quick trends, surface level conversations, and instant gratification, but true depth, that's rare. And it's really powerful. So, what does it take to become a woman of real substance? A woman who actually has deep thoughts and lives out her life in a way that you know she's the real deal. In this video, I'll share with you how to cultivate depth in a world that encourages the opposite. We are currently in a crisis of shallow living. Where's the real depth? Where's the why, the deep understanding, and the deep thinking? We're very reactionary and just take things in. This modern obsession with quick trends in general is so surface level. Our living now is so surface level. We don't have deep thoughts. We don't do critical thinking anymore. We are just told what to think. But most people avoid depth because it requires effort, reflection, and a lot of times discomfort, challenges. Growth happens in the uncomfortable. So I'm going to encourage that on this channel because this channel is all about growing deeper in all the ways. Faith, personal development, just building you to be a well-rounded, fully encompassed woman. I feel like we've probably all known someone who is very shallow. They only care about the surface level things. There's no real meat to anything they say. And when you talk to them, it's almost like they don't even hear you. Any conversation you have immediately reverts to them because that's all they know. They are not deep enough to even put themselves in another person's shoes. There's a rare value in a woman who can think deeply, live intentionally, and carries substance in her presence, in her conversation, in the way she lives out her life. You may ask if being a deep person means you can't enjoy fun things or what might be shallow things, but that's not true at all. This is about balance and knowing when to enjoy light things and when to dive deeper and get to the bottom of something and find something with substance to fill your mind with. Let's talk about how to cultivate it and the foundation of depth and substance. What actually starts in the stillness and having some thoughts that are your own. I want you to embrace the stillness. Take some time and just be alone with your thoughts. Get to know yourself. Really start examining thoughts and things that you take in from external sources. Depth isn't built in the noise. You need to create space for stillness and deep thinking. And you have to learn to be comfortable with solitude. I know that can be really hard for some people. And when you first start making this a priority, it will be very hard. And I don't expect long stints of it. When you're first building this habit of just pausing and allowing some stillness in your life, it can be very short to begin with. 5 minutes, even less. 5 minutes might seem long. It might seem like an eternity when you first start. But just unplugging, sitting still, and letting your mind wander. And depth grows in reflection and really examining things. But you also need to seek meaning and not just information. We live in an information age now. But I don't really see many people asking why and getting to the bottom of things. That's where you need to get to, is not just taking any idea at face value and accepting it as truth, but really ask why. What is the motivation of the person telling you this? Where is this information really coming from? Is it a credible source? Things like that. Everything has a bias, whether you would like it to or not. So I encourage you to weigh the biases and make sure you're getting both sides, all the sides of the story, or the thought, or the concept that you're examining. Depth isn't about knowing a lot, but it's about understanding deeply, knowing the whys, understanding root causes, root motivations. What if you don't have time to sit around and just think all the time? I get it. Who does in today's fast world? But like I said earlier, it just starts with little moments. So maybe instead of listening to something as you drive, sometimes just sit in the stillness and let your mind process things as you're driving. Maybe don't always have a podcast or music going as you're doing things around your house or even at work. Sometimes just allowing the stillness will get your mind going and it'll just wander down rabbit trails. Just totally fine. I have found that some of my best thinking and processing is when I'm just in a zone where my mind is going a million miles an hour. I am very thankful for my early 20s when I worked for my father as a window washer. I didn't wear earbuds or headphones or anything. I would actually just work in silence. The occasional conversation with my dad or someone else who was around, but it was mostly silence with my thoughts. And it was really beautiful. I was able to dream big dreams. I was able to have deep thoughts. I was able to just think about things and really mull things over and just have that stillness. And I truly appreciate it now because I don't have that stillness built into my day the way I did at that time, and I miss it. So sometimes when I haven't had a chance to really process the day or the week, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I just can't sleep because my mind needs to actually process those things. And so I have to let it just run. But if you actually build that into your day, it becomes a habit. I think you'll find peace comes with that too when you're able to process your thoughts. If that stillness isn't something you can build fully into your day, you'll need to take little moments and build on it. We as humans are disservicing ourselves by constantly having input into us and not being able to actually process and create of our own accord. Let's talk about how to cultivate the depth. We have the stillness aspect, but now we need to be mindful about the information that we are inputting. I think reading is very important. I'm lightly dyslexic, so reading is not something I actually do that well. I have found that audiobooks for me are great, but when you do take in information, make sure you're getting good ideas put into you. I would focus on timeless works, history, music, philosophy, things that actually have some substance that will give you more of an edge in life and not just the latest celebrity gossip and the latest YouTube scandal. Focus on timeless works, timeless information, not just fleeting content that is bombarding you every day. I have gone through periods where I will focus on a certain subject for a time and read books, listen to books that are all about those topics. Books from the olden days. Audible's great. I actually don't have an Audible subscription, but for the older books, LibriVox is completely free. It's all public domain books that are read by volunteers. I would encourage, even if you prefer fiction and things, if you read the older classics, those were things that informed society in a big way back in the day. I feel like things like that are still pertinent today, and the more educated people do read those. I think we also need, as a society, but it starts with the individual, I think we need to return to more of a classical education. Women and men historically had these educations, and that shaped culture, faith, society as we know it. And I feel like that is lost in the masses these days. But the people who still have these classical educations, they tend to go further in life. I think this would behoove us as regular society to implement and to educate ourselves on now because it's not part of our formal educations growing up. The classical education is built on three things: grammar, which is knowledge and language mastery; logic, so reasoning, critical thinking, I'm sure mathematics is probably part of that too; and rhetoric, which is how to speak and the art of persuasion. If you have all of those things in your arsenal, you have major advantages in life. Learning to think and speak well and clearly will take you far in life. My husband was telling me that in college he actually did take a formal logic class. And he said it's really about taking an argument and mathematically breaking it down and finding the flaws. He said it was one of his favorite classes. He is a big nerd. I love him. That does sound really fascinating, and I want to explore that more. I want to educate myself more in the classical method of learning. Another thing that's really important is to ask questions and ask better questions. My boss has a saying, questions will get you anywhere you want to go in life. You just have to ask the right questions. And this starts with actually engaging with what you're learning, with the conversation you're having. Instead of asking very surface level questions and small talk, maybe actually dive into the meat with the person you're conversing with. And this is really important too, is to surround yourself with depth. So the people you surround yourself with is very important. As we mentioned, the things you consume, the media, the ideas that are around you are very important, and they will inform the way you think too. So choosing relationships with deeper people is very important. They need to inspire you and challenge you. Growth of any kind does not happen when you're comfortable, when you're not exploring new things. When you are staying in your bubble, you are stagnant. Another thing is practicing deep conversations with people. Go beyond the small talk, get into the meat, the truth. Discuss ideas and values. Don't just ask how their day was. Ask what motivates them. Why do they get up in the morning and go to work? Find out actual reasons people do the things they do. Small minds talk about people, and larger minds talk about values, ideas, dreams, things like that. So ask yourself, what is the main thing you talk about? And it's pretty telling about your current status, your current depth. As I said, growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable. So getting out into the world and experiencing new big things will totally give you a new perspective. It'll open your mind. It'll fill you with ideas that you could never even imagine before. Experiences shape your thoughts. They shape who you are. Travel, serve people, observe things, reflect on it. Go experience something that you would say you'd never be caught dead at. If you're more of an artsy person, maybe go to a rodeo or something. Just go out and experience a little bit of other people's lives and get a taste of that. Don't go to weird experiences that are detrimental to you, but open your horizons to other genres of people. But if you still don't know where to start small. Choose one book, maybe have one meaningful conversation, one new habit of this. Depth is built in daily moments, but it's not built overnight. Even the bad things in your life add depth. I would not have the patience, the resilience, and the gentleness that I have with people now if I had not gone through some horrible experiences in my life previously. Even the bad things in your life, you can turn around and they add so much depth to you. And that just happens naturally, especially if you give yourself time to heal and process it. That's big. The people who I've noticed are more shallow in life, they've had very charmed lives. They haven't gone through the grit. They haven't gone through the challenges. The challenges force you to grow. I know sometimes it can feel completely irreparable, but there are things that are good that can come from horrible experiences. So, as far as living as a woman of depth, you can have all this knowledge, but you need to apply it. And a deep woman stands out because the world is so superficial around her. You will stand out as you cultivate depth, and people are attracted to it because there's actual substance there, and people want that. They crave it because the world is so fast around them that it's the gravitas that just pulls people in, and they love it. And you should love it. Hopefully, you can make other people deeper too by the conversations you have with them. A deep woman stands out in everything she does. And you'll get there if you're not there yet. Now, you may ask, as your depth grows, will this intimidate people? Will they be put off by it? No. With depth, if you're this deep, you can come up to this level for interactions that require it. But people who are this deep cannot come down here. And it's not about making others feel small, but it's meeting them where they are and being able to actually expand them and you. And it's about finding things that are more meaningful in life. This life is full of so many meaningless things. And if you can find the meaningful and be the meaningful and grow in the meaningful, then your life is going to exponentially get better. I don't think there's any way that it couldn't. Depth is magnetic and it draws the right people, other people who are deep too, and it will draw opportunities. It will draw purpose to your life. Being a deeper person, I don't know of any downsides to it, honestly, except that perhaps sometimes you'll feel lonely if you're surrounded by shallow people. So just be aware of that and make sure you do surround yourself with a community of depth as well. But what's one way you plan on cultivating depth in your life moving forward? I know I'm going to pursue the classical education a little bit more because I'm so interested in that and just the logic and critical thinking of that because this world is so short on critical thinking at this point in time. But if you enjoyed this, if you really found this helpful and enlightening and meaningful, I would appreciate it if you subscribed and liked the video. This channel is going to be full of deeper content and just learning to be the best woman you can be. So I will see you next time. I truly appreciate you, and God bless you.